So one of the most common questions that I get is, what are DTF transfers good for? They're not good for bulk orders, are they? Actually, they can be. It really all depends on how you set up your artwork. So I already cut these, unfortunately, otherwise I would have shown you exactly how the entire sheet looks like. But on average, DTF transfers are gonna be 22 inches by however long you want it to be. Now, for these in particular, I needed 14, and screen print transfers, it wasn't gonna work out because I only needed 14. But with heat transfer vinyl, it was gonna be way too much work, especially when you consider how many colors there are. Imagine how much weeding I would have to do for 14 of these. Then my other thought was I can use my Uninet iColor 560 white toner printer. But then that means I have to marry all of the different sheets, and I would most likely have to do this in 2 different parts because this is bigger than what my current printer can print. If I had one that printed up to 11 by 17, it would be perfect. But I don't. So my only other option was DTF transfers. Now, I was able to set up the artwork to the point where I can actually get 2 of these, or 2 of these designs, to fit across from each other. So I was able to put 2 of them next to each other and then line them up all the way down. And I think I ended up doing a 12-foot sheet, so 22 inches by 12 feet. And in that, I was able to fit all 14 transfers. Hold on one second. I'm trying to align this one. Multitasking isn't my best thing. All right, that looks good. Now, a lot of people think that you can't do bulk orders because DTF transfers ultimately will be a bit too expensive. And that is true if you're doing really, really big images. If you can fit all of them into a smaller size gang sheet, then you should be good to go. Of course, sometimes you might have to play around with the dimensions to make sure everything does fit. Like in my case, these are 14 inches long. As far as the width, they wanted them to be about 14 inches, so it was going to be a little bit taller. But I explained to them because of the cost, if I lower it just by 2 inches, I'll be able to fit both of them in a gang sheet, and we'd be good to go. I'd be able to bring down the cost significantly, almost in half. And as you can see, it's already a pretty decent size, so it's not too small. In just a second, I am gonna go ahead and show you how I set this up and how much it cost me. But let me just go ahead and put this to the side really fast. Now, the thing about these in particular, the ones that I use, the DTF transfers that I use, it's that they are cold peel. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and press them, let them cool off, then remove the carrier, like this one that I have right here, once it's cold, and then I'm going to press them one more time. So essentially I'm kind of doubling my work at this point, but I'm okay with it because I do like these cold peels, because I've never had any issues with them. And sometimes for some reason hot peel DTFs, they don't always work with me. I'm usually good with them, but this particular company, the hot peels, haven't been the best. But cold peels, perfection. Now, it could be my technique, but I don't know. These work, they get the job done, and they look pretty good. All right, so let me rip this one off really fast. Now let's go ahead and place this one really quick. You guys think that looks straight? Yeah, I think it looks pretty good, right? Yeah, should be good. Now, these are long sleeves. So long sleeves typically are going to be a bit more expensive. So what's the best way that you can fit your DTF transfers or your designs onto your DTF gang sheets? Now, the reason for this is, of course, like I said earlier, so that way we can increase our profits and we can keep the total cost for our customers a little bit lower, because obviously our customers are never going to want to pay too much for their shirts, and we want the business, but we still want to make money. So this is how I do it. Now, let's take, for example, an order of 20 shirts. Somebody wants 20 shirts and they want a logo in the front and they want their information on the back. Now, we all know that information on the back can sometimes get pretty big depending on what's on there. So let's go ahead and just see how we're going to structure this. So let's go ahead and click on new. By the way, I am using Photoshop right now. You can use whatever gang sheet builder or design software that you use, but my preference has always been Photoshop. If you do want to follow along and you want to check out Photoshop, then check out the link down below in the description. I have an affiliate link there for Photoshop. And if you are thinking of signing up and getting Photoshop for yourself, it would really mean the world to me if you use that link, because again, it is an affiliate link. So if you click on it and make a purchase or sign up, I do get a little bit of a kickback. Now, on here, I always keep resolution to 300. Resolution is always going to be key for crispy prints. So minimum 300 when you print. Now, as far as the width and the height, this is where it's going to vary. So we are going to have to go ahead and test out a few different sizes to see what fits. But overall, for about 20 t-shirts, I would say maybe 12 feet. 12 feet should be okay, especially if we're doing the front and the back. So let's go ahead and do 12, because we're going to be doing 12 feet times 12 inches, so it's 144. So width 22, height 120. Well, I'm sorry, not 120, 144. Now, I did say resolution is always going to be 300, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to drop this down to 72. And I also do 72 whenever I'm pricing. The reason for this is because my computer, and pretty sure some other people's computers, when you do files that are so big, it can start to slow other things down. So right now, since I'm recording at the same time and I'm doing a bunch of other things, it probably will slow down my computer a little bit. So I'm just going to keep it at 72. Again, for demonstration purposes. When you're actually building your gang sheet to send off to print, always make sure that your resolution is 300. So with that, we have 22 inches width because that is the general width that most DTF transfers print, at least for my supplier. And the height, 144 inches. Let's go ahead and create. And this is what we have. Let's move this out of the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a pretty big design that I can put in the back. I don't have anything on my computer right now because I moved everything to a drive or to my external hard drive. So you know what? I'm going to do this one. This is one that I actually did not too long ago. And this is a pretty big design. This is an oversized design. Let me remove the background, zoom in a little bit. And let's do this. All right, so let's take this one for example. So if we do Control and T, we can go ahead and do the free transform. But this is actually a little big, so I don't want that. Oops. Like you see all of that extra space on the side. I don't know why it's giving me that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it. I'm going to import the design itself. And I'm just going to crop the sides. There we go. Now what I can do is I can just go ahead and drag it into my other one over here. Make it smaller because it was at 300 DPI, so it is going to be bigger. All right, perfect. So here what we can do is we can go ahead and hit Shift and then click on the little corner and drag. The reason I hit Shift is so that way everything, whenever we resize, it resizes at scale and nothing gets distorted. And we can see that right now we have a width of 11 inches by 16 inches. 16 being the height, so it's pretty big. Now let's say this is the one that they want a lot of. Let's make 2 of these. It's not going to fit. So in this case, what I would do is I would just simply decrease the size. So the width right now is showing 10 inches. 10 inches should be good because we do have a width of 22 inches for the sheet. So now let's copy this one over. And it's still pretty tight in there, but it'll work. Let's just move this a little bit to the side. This one as well. And there we go. Now, this, like we said, is still pretty big. It's 14 inches high or tall by 10 inches wide. So it's still pretty big. I do understand that sometimes people do want bigger images than this. Like this design that I'm actually doing right now, I did for my cousin, and she wanted it to fill the entire back. So in that case, what I had to do is I simply just rotated this. Oops. I simply just rotated this by 90 degrees, and then I essentially filled up what my heat press would fit. So I have a 16 by 20, so I did it up to 18 inches like this. And then I just laid them all out like that. So it is a little bit more expensive, but at the end of the day, it ended up coming out to about $28 per sweater or per sweatshirt, which when you think about it, that's kind of retail price. And she only got about 14 of them. So that doesn't really justify for a bulk discount at that point just yet. So 28 bucks was some pretty good pricing. And she even told me, she's like, that's not bad. That's a lot cheaper than me going out, purchasing the hoodies, and then printing them somewhere else, or sweatshirts, sorry. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Let's say because we are doing 20 shirts, your customer's not really probably gonna wanna pay $26 per shirt or per sweatshirt or whatever. In that case, what we can do to decrease the price is tell them, look, what we need to do is decrease the size a little bit of the print itself. It's still gonna be a decent size. In this case, 14 inches high, that's more than enough. Typically speaking, most people do 12 inches. So 14 inches is perfect. So here, all we have to do is this. And now what I like to do is I just like to go ahead and copy. And then just set this up the entire way down. This is my easy way of doing things. If you have an easier way of doing it, just let me know down in the comments below. But this is how I do it. So far we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, actually let's delete these. We have 10. Copy and paste all 10, drag them down. And it might be a little bit hard for you to see because I am zoomed out a little bit. And it does overlap, so we still don't have enough space. So in this case, what I do is I just go to File, Image, Canvas Size, and I'll increase it by 2 feet. So let's add 24. So this would be 44 plus 24 would be 68. And we have a perfect fit. Now this is what it would look like when we print everything. So as you can see here, we have all 20. And then with the extra foot that we added, we can go ahead and put over here in the blank space the chest logos, which typically those are going to be about 4 inches. So they should fit here. If not, we can always just move things around a little bit, probably make everything a little bit tighter, or at the end just, add an extra foot to our roll. And really, that's all there is to it. That's the easiest way for me to be able to make bulk orders, or I guess semi-bulk orders, with DTF transfers. Screen print transfers are great, especially if you're doing bulk orders, like bigger orders. But for 20 or 30, if you're doing full color, it's not going to be the best. Screen print transfers are always going to be best when you have larger orders. Typically, anything between 25 and more if it's single color, or even then, maybe even 40 or 50 or more. But for full color, it gets really expensive. With full color, it's always going to be very expensive if you're doing anything less than maybe 40 in full color. So always try to see how you can figure out to put it in DTF transfers. But again, I mean, there's always a few different types of suppliers where you can purchase some cheaper full color transfers. But this is a supplier that I use. This is a wholesale DTF supplier, and this is where I get my DTF transfers for super, super cheap. They're called City Colors. Now on here, all you have to do is go ahead and register. Now, a quick note before you do register. You are going to have a resale certificate. If you don't have one, they're not going to approve your account. So that is one thing that you do need. But check out these prices, especially when you compare it to some other retail suppliers. So let me see, DTF transfers over here. They also have UV. So we said it was 12 feet, but then we added like, what was it? 12 feet, but then we added 2 more feet, 15 feet. Let's do 15 feet. So for a 15-foot roll, by the way, they do go up to 20 feet, so it's pretty long. But for now, we're doing 15 feet, which is 5 yards. Next day, printing, $78. Now, the only thing about these is that these are cold peel. They do have the hot peel option, but I personally prefer the cold peel. I have used their hot peel, and it works pretty well. But I've just had better success with the cold peel. They peel a lot easier. But yeah, that's pretty much how I set up my DTF transfers for my quote-unquote bulk t-shirt orders. Is there a different way that you do it? Let me know how you do it down in the comments below. Do you have a more efficient way of doing it? Do you have a way of saving more money? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So just drop them down in the comments below. Huge thank you to everyone for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. My name is Mario with Neko Prince, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.